Hi, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to my weekly podcast about spirituality, love, death, devotion, and waking up while living in a messy world. The Satsang with Shambhavi podcast is recorded live each week with students of our nonprofit community, Jayakula. For more information and to find out about attending a satsang, visit jayakula.org. Thanks for listening. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. There's a famous Baba from North India. He always shows up at the melas. And people I know have met him, but I never met him. His name is Pilot Baba. Pilot. He used to fly planes before he became a personage, a spiritual personage. Not exactly sure what his deal is. But anyway, there was a little book of sayings of his that I read. These were from the 70s or something. I think he's still alive, though. And one of the ones that stuck in my mind was, your body is only a temple. I think in terms of our health, that Ma gave really good advice, which is get the best doctors you can, do the best you can, and if you're still sick, shrug. Basically, because we aren't in control of everything, and sometimes our fate is just to be sick, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes we get better, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have to manage chronic things. Sometimes they go away miraculously. All we can do is get the best care available, and then really the rest is up to God. So that means that we have to stop relating to our illness in a tightened way. And being ill is not a personal failure. It's not shameful. If you don't get better, that doesn't mean you didn't do it right. Health is just one aspect of our lives. I mean, our physical health. There's lots of things we don't recover from. Lots of karmas, not all of them have to do with our physical health, right? And we're not going to become karma-free in one lifetime. So, just like everything else, our health has to be tended to and managed, and we're never going to be perfect. So we should have that attitude that it's just like another thing that we are charged with taking care of, but it's not our fault, whatever happens. We also shouldn't be afraid of serious illness either. All of these things we should just have a practical attitude toward, understanding that everything that comes our way is just what wisdom has given us. And if we die, that's what happens. As practitioners, we should try to remember that everything that's happening is an aspect of wisdom. It's a much larger circumstance than we have the possibility to understand. We can't explain it. There's no psychological explanation or medical explanation or New Age explanation or karmic realm explanation. There is no explanation that is going to encompass the infinite circumstance that we're in. And we should always just try to relate to everything practically and with a kind of matter of fact. To pick up our tools, do our best, and if it doesn't work out, that's how it is. Sometimes we have to be sick, sometimes we have to die, sometimes we get better, and sometimes we get miraculously better. In terms of our actual practice, it's harder to practice when you're sick. What I've found throughout my life is that when I practice in times when it's hard to practice, then really special things happen when I kind of move out of those times.
That's what I was wondering about today.
Yeah. When I practice through the dry times and practice through the hard times and practice through the boring times and practice through the sick times, that when those times inevitably end at some point, there is this surprise, much more has happened during those hard times than I thought. When I thought nothing was happening, actually something was happening. And then when you're more healthy or whatever, the times just change, then you get to enjoy that and something really deepens. Your connection to God really deepens. And of course, we are all going to die. And many of us will be infirm when we die. Most of us will be infirm in some way when we die. Many of us might be in pain when we die. We might be ill, or, many things might be happening. And of course, that is one of the times when we really want to remember to practice and kind of get up whatever remaining energy we have to do some practice. So, in a sense, when we practice through hard times now, when we're not actually about to kick the bucket, that actually is a very good preparation, continuing to do that when you die. And the other thing, I read an interesting article the other day from a naturopathic doctor who was really upset because of the way that illness is talked about so individualistically these days. As if every person was somehow that their illness arose from their individuality and could be taken care of as an individual. And what she was saying was that we live in a circumstance, in an environment that is harming us. And when you go to the doctor and they say, something about your hormones, or something about your genetics, or something about your immune system, and it's like walled off from the rest of the world, that there's a tremendous opportunity to come up with the wrong solutions, or blame people, or simply just make people feel badly about their circumstance on some individualistic way. When actually, many of the things we're suffering from are environmental. And I just can't help but think that we're going to get more sick in general as a species, until we get a handle on this, or unless we get a handle on this. So that causes, a new circumstance to arise for us as practitioners and me as a teacher. How do we work with ourselves as practitioners if we're going to not be in as good shape as people used to be before they had all of these things impinging on them environmentally? So I hope it will get better. And of course, in this community where a lot of people have a lot of skill in eating well and taking care of themselves in a much better way. I mean, if we're this sick, think about how the general population is, right? We have so many people getting diabetes and all these other things that are happening. So I think that we owe it to ourselves and to God, because of being given so much opportunity, to the teachings, to other people who might want to access the teachings. We owe it that we try our best to be healthy, right? So that we can preserve and offer the teachings to people. But there's only so much we can do, right? My own feeling about practice is we should do practice unless we really, really can't. And we should not put up false obstacles. I'm a little tired, or, anything like that. I think we should do our utmost to continue practicing. And of course there's going to be times when people can't, but that was always true, right? You can't do practice when you have the flu. And you can't do practice in the way that we do. If you have cancer and you're on a lot of opiates, you have to pick something very, very simple. If you're in that condition, you're going to be doing it lying down, and you're not going to have a lot of clarity. But still, you're going to do what you can. Right?
My health question, I was kind of wondering something similar to what you said. Because I had a feeling today, because I had a little more energy today, I was like, I wonder if, even though I'm really tired and I can only do so much practice, if there's effects going on under the surface that I don't have access to while I'm feeling incapable of getting out of bed, but that are accumulating or whatever, or still something's transforming while I'm so sick. That seems like...
I think the answer to that is definitely yes. Nothing gets rewarded like sincerity and devotion. Nothing. You know, even doing a really half-assed job because you're sick, you know, it's something or other. If you do it with sincerity and devotion and you do your best, it always gets a response. And you may not notice it at first, but you will notice it at some point. The most important thing is sincerity. That's what moves everything. Does the devotion that arises from doing practice and the sincerity that keeps deepening confidence, all that just keeps everything moving. And that's why it's great to have community. We can also experience a little more of that world of the devotee. When I first encountered the Indian Sangha of Nandamaima, they made a distinction between devotees and disciples. And they, you know, their distinction was that disciples were somehow lesser than devotees. And I thought, wait, what? Isn't it the other way around? You know? And now I realize no. They were right.
What's the difference?
Because the devotee is, you know, has gotten to that point of awakening where devotion is very, very present to them. You can be a disciple and have a, you know, more impoverished experience of devotion. So a devotee is like a disciple, but one who's steeped in devotion.
Sounds almost like going to work every day because you need to make money versus going to work because you love to do what you're doing. It's like a different bhav. It's like if you have a natural desire to be there and like give.
Well, I think there's different kinds of disciples. You know, there's ones who are more just following a form, but there are disciples who feel devotion. But then there's just something else that happens, which is feeling that just in you, coming to you, moving through you, that makes everything into a devotional circumstance or a devotional act. It's different than just feeling devoted to your teacher or feeling devoted to your community or something. You know, feeling that immersion in devotion is a little different than that. Because you can just feel that in everything. You just start feeling the Lord in everything. That's, I think, what's meant by a devotee, right? Not, you know, being really devoted to your teacher is one stage. That's definitely not the end point. Occasionally someone would come to me and say, I'm devoted to you, but I don't care about the community. I feel like, oh gee, thanks for telling me you don't care about my life's work. Glad to hear. Yeah. No, but I kind of knew what they were saying. But they would say, you know, there was a couple of people, they'd say it very proudly, you know, and as if that was going to attract me, you know, that was going to magnetize me or seduce me in some way. Having someone be devoted only to you is really a burden. Right? Have all of someone's devotional energy focused on you is a burden.
And to not see the community as like having a function in any way or like a fruit or any, you know, just like people doing some stuff is not my impression of what this is about.
But it's still a phase, you know, it's still a something. It's still not bad. It's like being able to love your friends or your family is still love.
You said the theme for this year is to show your devotion more.
Yeah.
And I remember that, but I don't remember anything else about it. When you said that as a theme, I like let it show out at work a little bit or other places.
Yeah.
Could you speak a little?
You know, devotion's unpopular. This kind of spirituality is unpopular. Gurus are unpopular. You know, organizing your life around teachings and teacher and devotion is unpopular. Living your spirituality in a way that's not compartmentalized has always been unpopular. It's hard to hold this kind of tradition in this kind of environment. That's what I've been really trying to reach for in the past, you know, few months. Trying to let more of myself out, even though it's not a hospitable environment. And then letting your devotion out more means, for some people, I don't know about you specifically, but for some people it means letting go of some of your fears and trusting the yearning of your heart more, seeing where it takes you more without so much chatter and ordinary mind, cultural mind, zeitgeist mind, getting in the way of your actual wisdom heart, and being a little more courageous to let your devotion really out and show. The fear of being out of step was always, a factor for some people, being out of step with the times. And then in a practical matter, it just means following the impulse to show your devotion by serving. Just when you have that desire, following it, not letting it get squished down by all these other things that are floating around. The expression of devotion is very subtle. I mean, it can't be mixed with stickiness and wanting to get something back and measuring, and all those things make it not devotion. Right? When you're doing it out of anything other than just the dance-like sweetness of it. So it's like trying to get in touch more with that. And it is just about enjoying it. It's not about I'm being good, I'm being devoted. It's not about, oh, look at me, I'm helping someone. It's not about, I helped someone yesterday, so you should do it today. It's not about, I'm devoted up to this point, but after that, I'm out of here. Because X, Y, Z, A, B, C, all my reasons lined up, really has to be out of pure enjoyment. It has to be like you're actually feeling devotion. There is devotion toward a child or toward a friend or a lover or a teacher or a community. Those are all good entryways into devotion, but they're not the whole thing by any way, shape, or form. Like anything else, devotion is just free floating. It doesn't have a particular object. But nonetheless, wherever you start from, you have to start from you. You have to start from actually feeling something. It can't be defined precisely, but there is just a sweetness about it, and there is a dance-like quality, and it's very precise. Right? You can't serve someone who doesn't want to be served. Having bad timing is another thing. To be in a state of devotion means to be exquisitely in sync with everything, and listening, and sometimes you serve people by not serving them. Sometimes you serve people by doing what they want before they know they want it. Or sometimes you serve people only by asking them what they want and only doing precisely what they say they want. It's like a musical score, right? And you have to learn to read the music. So that you have to start from your own heart. You have to start from an actual feeling of devotion. It's not just a set of acts. You could have 10 people do the exact same act of quote-unquote devotion, and 9 of them wouldn't be devotion. They'd just be acts or semblances. You can't make yourself feel it, but you can, in some instances, make yourself stop not feeling it. So we all have impulses. For instance, one day I was leaving Machuca, and there's some sort of senior facility just down the block. People live there. I don't know exactly what it is. Anyway, there was a lady. She was elderly. She had groceries. She was trying to cross the street to get back to that building. She was very, very tentative. She was afraid of the traffic. And I said to her, "Would you like some help?" And she said, "What, do you think I'm old?" And I said, "Oh no, you just look like you might need a hand." And then she was very cranky, but she did want help. Any number of things could have happened when I had that impulse. Mm-hmm. Internal chatter could have started to stop it. Mm-hmm. Oh no, that'll look weird. Oh no, that's such a cliche. Mm-hmm. Helping an old lady cross the street. I'm not doing that. I don't know, any number of chatters could start up for somebody. Or I could have immediately gone into ego overdrive. I'm gonna help that lady, and I could have like rushed up to her and like, here, let me take your bag, you know, and completely freaked her out and ruined the whole situation. There has to be some sensitivity, but if you have like an impulse to show your devotion, you need to not stop that impulse. You need to not, you know, you can stop yourself from stopping it.